Hello, Keith from Terra-x here. In this video I will be removing a spacer that's been in this shock for about 3 months and been through all sorts of riding terrain, and I will be reinstalling the spacer back into the shock because I want it to stay in there. But the video will show the use of the tool that's supplied to do it and explain the principle and how easy it is to change, and we'll have further videos showing some work on the forks and triple clamp modification that doesn't involve any fork spring changes. To lower the bike by 32mm I got measured at the seat, front and back. So if you've never taken one of these shocks apart before, I'll just do it as quickly as possible. First thing I do, very important really, to save you some time, is it doesn't matter whether you're taking the spacer out or putting the spacer back in. If you're using the same shock spring, you're going to want to set the preload at the same that it was set at before, regardless of whether the space has been removed or put back in. So what I do is I measure the distance with the shock preloaded and write that down. Then I'll just get to the point where the ring is just touching the spring but not compressing at all. Then I'll write that measurement down as well. Obviously the distance between those two measurements is the amount that you'll want to preload the spring back when you put the shock back together. In this case it's about 7mm, which is about right. So to get the shock apart, we just have to wind the collar up to release the spring. Some guys know how to do this, so I'm sorry, but I think there's probably some people that have never taken one of these things apart, so I'll just do it as quick as I can. Turn the shock upside down, and then this ring here just pulls down. Underneath there's a circlip. You just take that off, then you can pull the ring off and then the spring off. Okay, so now we're going to take the spacer out of the shock. But first we need to get this cap off. I just use an Allen key, but probably a pin punch or something. One side. Okay, now you'll probably be able to see in there the spacer that was installed 3 months ago. That's the 2-part aluminium spacer that surrounds the dust seal in the centre there. And what we're going to do is we're going to take that out and let the original seal head that's underneath it extend out and remove the spacer completely and reassemble. But first we've got to get this dust seal off. Now you can You can do this with that seal on there, but I like to take it off because you'll see in a minute that if you push it up the shaft, it holds everything up and out of the way. So that's just holding up the dust cover there. And then you can see the aluminium centerpiece there. That's the original seal head, and this is the spacer that you're looking at the outside. So I'm just going to install now the tool. So hang on, I'll zoom back out. So now we need to install our compressing tool, and one thing I do suggest, recommend, is a bit of tape around the shaft there, but don't go down too far, because if you're removing the seal head, the seal spacer, you're going to need to have some space for it to come back up. So now we'll take the bottom part of our tool. This goes through the eyelet, the top of the shock, with a washer on each side. And I'll just nip it up a bit. Piece of threaded rod on each side with a nut and a washer each side. Then the tool top. So then nip up. And square washer, a washer and a nut on each side. A little time consuming to put this on. But it's very reliable once it's on there. There's no way that you can have trouble with the shock depressurizing. So what we do is we get the feet centered either side onto the original seal head in the center. Just nip everything up slightly till it's all straight, and then what I'll do is I'll tighten up the bottom ones. You don't want the rod turning when you're trying to compress. So that's it. This is ready to take the seal head spacer out, or to install in the beginning. So all we'll do now is we'll just take a 16mm spanner and we'll just push down evenly on both sides. So what we're doing is we're compressing the seal head that's inside the shock down into the body, displacing some oil and pushing the piston up inside here slightly and compressing the nitrogen a bit more. We only need to go down far enough to be able to remove the circlip that holds the whole thing in, which is probably about 5mm or so. As you can see, there's not a lot of pressure on these bolts. It's not a difficult thing to compress the shock in. Now we've already gone down far enough. It's going to be hard to see in there, but you may be able to see that the circlip is now above the seal head, well, in this case the spacer. So all we need to do is get the circlip out. It's going to be a little bit tricky. So the circlip is now out. At this point there's nothing holding the shock together except for the tool on the outside. If we was to release the pressure on this now, the seal head and all the shock internals would come out along with the oil and the gas pressure. But it's very safe, it's not going anywhere. This tool is holding it tight, there's no way that can come out of there. Now the spacer that we're going to take out can be a little tight to get out. It's in two pieces. Sometimes they work against each other. It's loose in there, but it's sometimes it's just a hard to get back out. So there's one half. And there's the other half. Just going to put that shock down for a second. These spacers I don't know if you can see, they have a groove at the top there which captures the circlip within the shock body. So this is the same as the seal head in the shock. The spacer is half the width of the circlip and the other half of the circlip is in a groove in the shock body. There's no way, once that lip goes past this circlip and it's in the groove in the shock body, that it can come out. There is just no way. The bottom of the spacer here has a little edge to it that goes into the groove, this groove that's in the original seal head. So when the spacer is in, it's in the groove in the seal head under there, and the circlip is captive by the top there. And because it's in two halves and they take up the entire space, it can't push inwards and jump out in any shape or form. So it's held by the lip on the bottom in the original shock ring, seal head, sorry. The fact that the ring takes up the entire space, and there, if there was a gap there to install this over the shaft in one piece without having two pieces, you could have a potential area where the ring could compress slightly, and if it compresses slightly there could be an issue with the circlip captive on the top edge. Because this ring can't compress in any form other than pushing against itself, there is absolutely nowhere for it to go. And this has been in this shock for probably 3 months or more. Absolutely no problems at all. And don't forget that once this is in there, it's got the pressure of the nitrogen. There, that just shows you how the bottom little lip there sits into the circlip groove. So if this was the original seal head with its circlip groove and this was your spacer, this is how it sits. So it locks positively to the original seal head by the circlip groove there. Can't move. You also have the pressure of your shock spring pushing against this at full extension, so you really don't want any issues with these things. You won't with this one. So right now, that's the original seal head down there, pushed in by the tool. All we really need to do is put the circlip back in to where we just took it out from, just like this. Very simple. That's it, that's in. Make sure it's seated properly. Can't say that, that's common sense, but in the groove. And then it's really a case of just winding out the adjusters. So now with the seal head on the spacer, circlip, you can just remove the tool. Let's get this out of the way so I can just show you the seal head. There's the original seal head. All we need to do is take the tape off, clean up the shaft, pull the dust seal down, and then reassemble the shock. Set the preload that you had on the main spring before you took it apart, and your bike's back to standard. Now, I'm going to do another video shortly after this, separate to this one, reinstalling this spacer. If you want to see the reverse procedure of the removal, watch that video. It's basically just doing everything backwards. But I'm putting the spacer back in here because this is off of my bike and I like it with the 32mm lower seat. So I find no detriment to the way the shock works. I find most standard PDS shocks can be a little harsh anyway on certain times, and this one is there's no difference from what it was standard to what it is with the spacer in. In fact, I'd be hard pushed to find a difference. So anyway, that's it. That's the shock part. Thanks for watching.